I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we'd like to go around the room really quick and just say what neighborhood you're representing.
Excuse me, I'm Amy Rogers and I represent the Wannock Road neighborhood.
Tom James, North Riverside.
Lisa Tatum.
Bill Washburn, Sherwood Glen. Mark Baker, Lake Ridge.
Angela Martinez, Midtown.
Zach Gingrich, Gaylord, Riverside.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Just.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Would anyone like to make a motion for approval of the minutes for September 11th?
I will move we approve the minutes for September 11th.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, Mark, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. The fire department is out of fire, so they'll do their staff report if they get here. So we'll move on to Wichita Police Department.
Hello, everyone. I'm Officer Grinley. I'm sorry that you have to deal with me. I'm like the replacement to the replacement to the replacement.
Oh.
No. Officer Soto was at work today, but he advised he had a family emergency, so he asked if I could come and help him out here. I will do my best. I don't know if you guys noticed that on the City of Wichita Facebook page or the police department Facebook page, we discussed that we had a decrease in most of our crime, which is awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up here. I screenshotted it. It looks like unfortunately we do have some fraud cases and then some theft from vehicles. That is unfortunately this time of year. This time of year, we do get a lot of shoplifts as well as larcenies from auto. Because a lot of people they're starting their Christmas shopping, they're starting to collect things in their cars rather than taking them back home and emptying out their car with all their gifts and stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that hiding it in the car is a better idea. That usually does not work out very well. Let's see here. I've had a couple hours to come up with some stuff, so I was not able to write a song or anything. Although Officer Williams will be conducting a dance here in a little bit.
I gotta see that.
I knew there was a reason there was a crowd.
That's right. Yeah, I apologize. I don't have a whole lot. Officer Soto advised just give him the stats from Facebook. Sorry about that. Looks like the majority of like I said, the majority of our crime is on a downward trend.
What does that mean? I mean, you got a rough percentage or?
So they broke out quite a few of them here. Like our rape cases are down by 30%. Robbery cases are down 3%. They did not give exact numbers of what that means. The non-fatal shootings are down by 18%. Aggravated assault cases are down by 1.6%. Burglary down by nearly 10%. Larceny cases are down by 1%. Stolen vehicle cases have dropped by 16%. I do know that part of that, over the weekend, we had officers, and I think Officer Williams might know more about it. It did happen on West Side, where people were realizing that Kias and Hyundai, thank you. That there is a TikTok trend, and you can actually start those with very, very limited knowledge, and it's a USB drive. Plug it in and start it, which is absolutely crazy. So I know that they did a project where they handed out, they partnered with Kia and some of the other dealerships to update. There's a computer update for them. Anybody who has those, would assume that you could still go to Kia and get them to work on those. But I do know they also handed out like the club or a steering wheel lock. So they'd be much more difficult for people to steal.
Is that a specific year?
Well, basically, as far as that worked out, if you had a button press, you didn't have to worry about it, but if you had a key for your Kia, that was the very first point to say, okay, the one with the key is actually needed.
Yeah, my son found out that he had trouble getting insurance for his Kia for that very reason.
Or I'm trying to see if I have it here on my emails.
Yeah, so it's a national trend that, been coming down this way, and so I think, there's some other car places that are actually gonna have us go when they do theirs also. Just trying to make sure that we get the auto thefts down.
The information I have on it didn't give a specific year. I apologize.
If anybody had any questions, you can actually go to the website for Kia and you can plug in your VIN number and it'll tell you if you need it.
They're supposed to mail letters, recall letters to the owners.
My son confirmed the same thing he said about the key or the push button. That was the determinant.
So some of the stats that they gave, I know you'd asked for a little bit more specific numbers. So robbery was down 3%, and specifically, that is citywide, specifically in DAB 6. Robbery for like the last 90 days is down 52%. So those numbers actually are much better around DAB 6, as opposed to the rest of the city, so.
That year-to-year comparison, or is that year over historical?
So that would be, so year-to-year comparison, we are the exact same as last year. But like the last 90 days, we're down 52%. Usually those trends seem to change during the winter time. It's usually much slower in the winter time, so. For most of the person's crimes, so. Unfortunately, that, like I said, I don't have a whole lot, so. Dr. Williams, if you want to come on up.
How about catalytic converters now? Is that still a problem or is that decreased as well?
Ever since the state has added more regulations to it, it's more difficult. As it is now, anyone can take a catalytic converter to a scrapyard. But before they wouldn't really scratch their head on if you brought in 2 or 3, and now you can't. You're gonna have to show, you would have to show proof that you are part of an auto body shop, more identification, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. And I'm Officer Williams, Patrol West, 15 beat and 14 beat. Some of the things that we got going on, for the area, there's a Subway at 21st and Hampton. We do have a business that's getting ready to move in there, because I know they've had an issue with homeless around the area, just hanging out at that business, so once they move in, that should help out a little bit. Also, complaint wise, we had a complaint at Second and Joanne with a lot of cars on property. That seems to be happening a lot around Wichita, especially with abandoned vehicles. We do sticker them, we do cite them, we do work with MABCD to be able to get that done. So our individual at Second and Joanne, he actually goes to court tomorrow for the issue, so unfortunately, we're still citing and putting in stickers, but
I have a question with that.
yes.
When they go to court, is it typically just a fine, or is there like action as well? Like enforcement.
There should be action and enforcement, but there's also, yes, citations. And so I know that MABCD has written some, and I know that I've written probably about 8 or 9. And so after a while, they're like $50 a pop, and they start to,
The neighbors are hopeful that there's enforcement, because the guy just easily paying the fines and then.
well, I mean, I talked to him today, and he was more worried about it. So that was genuine. So there was a difference.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are also teaming up, Wichita Police Department is also teaming up with Wichita Wagon Master to deliver turkey dinners to needy families. Each side of town had so many. And usually they're by, Officer, what was the word I'm looking for? Officer referral, yes, thank you. Let's see, and then also, coming around the corner, we're gonna be having a drive for the WPD for shelters, where we're getting all the gifts for the kids in the violent shelters. So we'll be looking for that to be on Facebook. Other than that, are there any questions?
I might just say before you guys leave, our dab is the same night as the swearing in ceremony, so we haven't figured out if we're gonna cancel or just move the date, so we'll
Okay,
make sure that the word gets out to fire and police.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you.
I've seen so many wrecks on the road recently, just when I'm picking people up or when I'm driving around. Just every highway and every road I go on, like on Central and stuff like that. So is there some kind of trend going on with that, or the crimes associated with that, or is it just purely accidents?
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, back when, I don't know how old you are, but I know back when I was in school, we went through driver's education. And so nowadays, I mean, basically, am I that old? No, so back then we had the driver's education and you had to take a course you had to pass. Nowadays, you know, you have the kids where they can just take the test. And if they can read the book and take the test, that's it. But if you ever notice, like a lot of people now, they don't know the common rules about driving, you know, or where you have to educate people about parking on the wrong side of the street because they don't know that it's illegal to have your kid walk across the street at school. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that we're missing out just because it's a book test. So it's just a different time.
Are you seeing an uptick in speeding? I am.
Honestly, yeah. And that's something that we have, that's why we have our motor unit now, to be able to help us to do all that. It all goes in with call load.
What do you mean by that?
As far as all the 911 calls that are coming out, and we have our traffic unit, so if we can help out, we will, but other times we're just answering calls.
So somebody just calls and says they're speeding?
No, so if you had a complaint about a certain area or a certain neighborhood, you would get a hold of the community policing officer, whoever is in that area. They can set up the stealth stat, which is basically something that we put up on one of the poles, and it monitors how many cars, how fast, basically in a week that we're coming through. And then once we get those numbers, we're able to give it to traffic so that they can actually run at that time when it's the busiest. It's really heavy. So they make me carry it.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Fire department?
Good evening, my name is Rocky Bumgarner, Wichita Capital Wichita Fire Department. I'm at Station 7, which is 2346 North Coolidge, which is tucked right behind the Dillons and the car wash there. A couple things from our Fire Prevention Bureau that they wanted me to review, being the holiday season. Thanksgiving Day is the most popular day for cooking fires to be reported in the United States. And that's for obvious reasons. Everybody's cooking. A word of advice, the most popular thing I see is the folks that choose to fry your turkey. And you drop it in the big thing of grease and it fries it up. You can YouTube that. There's all kinds of dangerous videos. I've made house fires where people have done that. A couple tips: the turkey needs to be dry, not frozen. When it's going to increase the buoyancy or the oil, and that's what you see is they put it in too fast or put too much and have too much oil in and it runs over the top. Now oil's boiling hot at that point. So be careful if you choose to do it that way. It's more than appropriate to do it, but just be careful if you're going to do that. Another thing, this time of year, we see this a lot. It's starting to get cold. People are using different ways of heating their homes. Specifically, what we see is like floor furnaces or, vented or unvented furnaces that you light with natural gas. A lot of times in the summertime when they're off, you hang things on them. You put a carpet over them, whatever it might be. The recommendation is nothing loose 3 feet within those things. If you use a vented or unvented furnace, I would highly suggest you have a CO alarm also in your house. Because an unvented one, they're designed to burn in the house. They burn really clean. But I will tell you the burner on those get cracked really easily just from wearing out. If that's the case, it won't burn clean anymore. It's going to release CO into your house. If you have a CO alarm, that'll alarm. And the CO is just the same stuff that comes out of your car exhaust. It's an asphyxiant. and can cause people some serious side effects. Another thing we see in the wintertime sometimes is people using generators more. Be careful with generators. They kick out a lot of CO. Once again, that needs to be vented properly. One other thing they wanted us to cover is chimney cleaning. If you have a wood burner in your house, it is suggested that you get an annual inspection on your chimney. I would tell you that if you have a chimney fire, we've had one already this year in our area, the damage that it's going to cause is significant. Two things are going to happen to you. One, it's in your chimney and you don't notice it until your roof's burning off because it's all above you. And the first thing you might notice is the lights flicker or you hear some crackling. And by that time, I'm telling you, you step outside and your roof is lit off. I've seen it lots of times. The second thing is going to happen, and it's not very much fun. If you have a smoldering fire in there, you smell and you call us early enough that your roof hasn't burned off just like I described. For us to access your chimney area, we're going to cause a lot of damage. That's just how the nature, that's an enclosed area. They're designed to be enclosed. And so for us to put it out, we're going to go on the roof, we're going to cut around your chimney, we're going to knock the ceiling in around your chimney. There is going to be a lot of damage just for us to access that smoldering fire. So I don't know what an annual chimney inspection costs, but I would tell you from the damage I've seen from chimney fires, well worth it. So lastly, and not on the prevention area, Station 23, Station 23 is what we called it, which was the temporary station at 13th and West Street in the Dillon's parking lot there. It was funding for it is tied to the bridge being replaced, the Amity Bridge. And the bridge is now open. The way I understand it now, Station 23 will go away. Be closed right around the 1st of January. I think where the plan is to start the closing process. We've got to reallocate those people. We got to take down. We also have to replace the site. Part of the original agreement, we have to replace the site back to where it was before. So we got to do some concrete work. We got to take the electrical out. So I'm thinking just literally somewhere around January 10th, we'll be hopefully out of that. Just depends on weather and timing. The Station 21's temporary station will be closed somewhere probably between the 1st of January and I'm assuming the 31st. So it will go away. So with that, I take any questions. Go ahead.
What's wrong with the building that it can't be repurposed to use the electrical wiring and everything that's already there?
Station 23, for one, the funding is always tied to the bridge being closed. So we don't have any funding for it. There's nothing wrong with the building. I would say as a permanent location, we can't stay in Dillon's parking lot forever. There is definitely an identified need for some more hardware in this area. And I think that's being efforted out at the administrative level. There is no plans right now to build a station within the near future being maybe 1 to 3 or 4 years. And that's where there's 2 stations that are being talked about getting built right now. One down on the southwest side of town and one on the northwest side of town. So, I don't know if I answered your question very well, but I tried.
I'm kind of confused if there's a need in the area and there's gonna be another one on the north side.
It was originally put there because of bridge closing, because the station I'm at 2346 North Coolidge is right there at 21st and Amity, couldn't get south. So the purpose for that station was for coverage of really that block that if you could take it from 13th and West to 21st and West and 13th and Amity, because I couldn't get there from where I was at or where I'm at right now. And so with the bridge reopening, I can get to those spots now. Now, as fast as those other stations, there's that station that no, but we can get back there as we did before.
So is the temporary for how, when was it put in? When the bridge was closed?
The bridge closed October 1st last year and it reopened 10 days ago. So,
And all those rigs were
I'm sorry.
spare, the rigs were all the truck.
Yeah, we have reserve rigs, but we didn't buy a new rig. We have reserve apparatus and one of them just repurposed and permanently set there.
And the personnel, will that be spread across the city or will
Yeah.
that come back?
Yeah. And that's how they kind of picked and popped people in there at the time.
So, is that something you think that the city should explore again in the future? I mean, it was kind of a different idea when we started it. Is it something you?
I think
we should
so,
continue?
Maggie. I think it's something they're definitely looking at. they've done a study, 11 is what it's called, about identifying needs in the city for response. There's some area up in that 13th and West area that in our world really depends on how fast we can get somewhere or how close you live. Like it or not, the closer you are, the better response you get. And so in our world, it's usually somewhere between 4 and 6 minutes. We like to be on scene depending on time, call type. And there's some spots up in that area that we don't need that. And so that's where the conversation starts of where would we go to really cover the area that's not being covered within that 46. We'll get there, like from where I'm at right now, or the next station in, which is Central and Elder. But it would be outside what we can consider the standard.
I'm more curious about the idea of a temporary station. Did it work, and what is it something we should do again?
I think they're probably planning on doing, maybe not at 13th and West.
Right.
But I think there's some works of where we're gonna build. I don't wanna get ahead of anything. So, and the way I understand it, actually, I think we bought what I call the tent. But I think we leased the trailers. And so,
We're gonna lease the space like at Dylan's.
yeah, we leased the space at Dillon's too.
I would say it definitely worked, a couple months ago, I don't know exactly right now, but it was the 6th busiest station in the city. So it was really providing a service that we really needed, especially while the bridge is closed, but the labor study says that we really need a station around 13th and Sheridan, which is just a couple blocks from there. Ironically, 20 years ago is about where
there's
the
a flag
station
shop
7
right
was, so. Yeah, I actually tried to push to keep the temporary fire station open because it does fill a gap. Even with the bridge open, we still need it according to the data, but I didn't get support from administration.
I wonder if going forward, we might be able to use that in other areas where we think we might need a fire station. We could put one in temporarily and
Yeah,
see if it's the problem, and you could kind of maybe explore a more permanent solution.
Could it be used for the training thing and maybe in combination with the police left, but Citizens Police Academy needs, I don't know, the fire safety, a tent that was about like public education about what you're doing and also just like certifications.
What's your
Is
question?
there another purpose that it could serve where it's
tent?
carrying on some of the,
I think that, I hate calling it a tent because it's so much more than that, but that's what I call it. I think we're actually, I don't know the specific plans. It could be moved to another side of the city, just like Mark was talking about as a temporary. I do think if it's not, I wouldn't be surprised to show up at our training grounds, which is down at 31st and Oliver, and we'll use it for storage to put rigs in. I think right now we park them out on the concrete or spare rigs. And so the tent, I don't see that tent just being taken down and thrown into a box somewhere. I think it's gonna be used as a structure somewhere.
and the structure that's there that has electricity is different than the tent, right?
Well, the tent we had to put a pole, we had to put a drop pole in there. The tent and the trailer both have electricity in right now. And we have doors on that tent that have to come up with power. So
It's a portable garage, basically.
it is a portable garage, but it's not even, it's so much more than that. It's, it's a neat kind of structure. I will tell you the only thing weird about it is in the winter time, because we try to heat it because we have water and rigs and like that. Well, you can imagine trying to heat that thing isn't the easiest thing in the world. And as soon as you open the doors, you can feel the walls suck in and every ounce of heat you had in it leave.
I know there's been several other fire departments that have come to check it out and.
Yeah, because we're not the only city that has to take out a major bridge and replace it. And I will give you guys credit. I sat through this whole process 2 years ago and stuff like that, because there was options about how to do that bridge, because it's a major thoroughfare about, and I give them credit to engineering public works, about doing one lane at a time or doing this and doing that. And really you guys picked, because if you did one lane at a time, it got more expensive, it got a lot longer, and you guys got to pick and said, we're gonna replace it, how do we do it? And we picked, hey, just close it, we'll get a temporary thing there, we're gonna make do. And I thought the process really was well done, at least as far as everybody knowing what it's gonna do, how we're gonna do it. And it's never ideal. When you close a bridge that handles 30,000 cars a day, it's gonna be a problem.
3.6
Any other questions?
Just to clarify what I was going with that, again, it being the 6th most busy fire station, and it wasn't even a real fire station in some way.
Yeah, and volume, there was a time there, and I haven't seen final stats, maybe, just the volume, because when you try to project about how many calls you're gonna have to cover, before you put it in. And so we track all calls, and at one point, that location, was busier than what we expected. And it was 6th in the city as far as medical or responses, within the city. And that just tells you this also, is that's a busy area of town. Where I'm at, because it's just not covering that area where I have to go. It really probably helped out Station 8, and Station 8 at Central Elder, Station 4 was down on Meridian, Kellogg. So that really, that whole area is just a lot of volume. And putting more people or more fire stations helps out, because there weren't any more calls than normal. It just helps out volume of the whole area. It's kind of it's got a lot of moving parts when you look at it.
There's not more fires per capita, is what you're saying.
I don't know fire for sure, because we do all medical too. I will tell you that most fires right now, fires tend to trend over time in different areas of town. Most fires right now are south of Kellogg. Just anecdotally, I'll tell you that, because I go to every one on them. And so we go south of Kellogg a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the library staff report.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jamie Nix. I'm the Director of Libraries. I think the last time I was here, I was peddling a big Maker Faire event. Happened in partnership with Exploration Place, and we had over 3,500 people come through that day. At one point, we had 3 bands kind of playing in different spaces at the Advanced Learning Library, which was an extraordinary test of acoustics and how do you run a quiet library? On a Maker Faire day, it's not quiet. It was wonderful. I think right now we have Kansas Reads to Preschoolers Month that's happening all throughout November. The park story walk has been changed to that story. It's really lovely. It's about joy, and it's called My Heart Fills with Happiness. And it's just a wonderful book. Preschool story times and a lot of our early learning programs this month are centering around that topic. We'll see if you haven't been to the Advanced Learning Library in the children's space, even if you don't have kids, I invite you to go look. We've designed a new, and we've certified ourselves in a new program called Family Place Libraries. Got staff who are trained in early learning, early literacy, and parent engagement in a different way than we've ever done it before. But call it Baby Palooza in the back of the library now. You can go there any time of day, and there's just parents and caregivers and 0 to 2-year-olds playing and learning and discovering together. There are these dinosaurs that we have that they play with, but we have them labeled on the cabinet, which dinosaur goes where, and they put them back. It's incredible. I wish I would have done that when my kids were little. I think we had a really big launch just last week. Oh my gosh, our book bus has gotten on the streets of Wichita. So if you see a giant green bus that has books on it, and it looks like it used to be an old city transit vehicle, that's our book bus. Transit generously donated a vehicle that they were taking out of service that was good enough to have some more miles. And so our library is toting around books to different parks, public spaces, childcare facilities. We're really targeting, again, more efforts into early literacy. I think much like everyone in our community, we're really concerned about kindergarten readiness and how that needs to shift. So there will be activities throughout Evergreen Park that I know it'll be at as well. We've made another change at our Advanced Learning Library too, while you're checking out the kids space. On the west side of the building, we've taken advantage of some space and some technology that was installed there. We have Macintosh computers with design software, and we've created an interesting maker space. So you can check out all the 3D printers. You can look at the different, Cricut machine, all sorts of creative, software that our staff can train you or even just talk to you about if you're curious. But I think things are really cooking at the library. Check out the holiday cooking collection. We have a really robust cooking recipe books. Any questions?
I have a quick question. The book bus was in the Veterans Day Parade over the weekend, which was super cool. How would somebody find out where the book bus is?
I should have told you, we have a webpage, it's wichitaLibrary.org/bookbus. We've got a calendar of where it's going to be, when it's going to be. The book bus, actually, we have the ability to get 15 people connected to Wi-Fi. So that's a service that we plan to expand out. Additionally, gosh, what was I about to say? I apologize. We can accept books to be returned. So if we're in your neighborhood and you have some that you just don't want to take to Evergreen, return them there. We give out library cards as well, and we can do some library instruction. Which is pretty fun.
Jamie, on that website, is there the ability to request?
There is. Thank you for feeding me this information. Yes, indeed. Right, I think this winter and early spring, we should have a lot of availability. I think right now, we've got some poor locations, but we're just trying to show up wherever. So you can request a visit by the book bus. I think once spring and summer hits, you're guaranteed to find us in every park in Wichita.
Any other questions? Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Public Works. You're up.
I am Paul Gunzelman, city engineer. I will give our quarterly report. As the fire department said, that the Emmeted Bridge is open. We had a soft opening on that November 1st. There is still some detail work that needs to be completed. The street and the aesthetic lighting is still in progress, but we anticipate that to be completed by late 2023. Moving to the east, the 21st Street, Chisholm Creek Bridge to I-135. The paving of that project, widening of 21st Street, has all been paved, and we anticipate completion of that prior to Thanksgiving. The 2023 pavement preservation program is wrapping up, and we will insert the 2024 program the next time I provide the quarterly update, but that has been pretty much completed for this year. Moving on, Douglas, the Douglas project from Seneca to Meridian, that was presented to the District Advisory Board in June of 2023. The City Council approved the concept of that project in September, and the consultant has been working to complete the survey as well as working on track maps for any acquisition that we may need for that project. We anticipate construction of that beginning in 2025, and we do have some federal funding for that is available at that time, or late 2024. The Delano Pass, we are completed with plans on that, and I still hope to get that out for bid yet this year. Moving on down to the downtown, we had some projects down there not on here as we added a couple of hydration stations downtown that I believe have been working well for folks. And then we are also designing a couple downtown restrooms for Portland Lou's. There at Napsker Park as well as a Crossroad Park that would be installed hopefully early next year. We are still under design on the 29th Street project from I-135 to Meade. We've been working with some adjacent property owners on that project. We've also been in contact with Kansas Department of Transportation. As you know, they have a couple of the ramps closed there at Hydraulic, 29th Hydraulic as part of the North Junction project. We anticipate construction beginning on 29th Street in 2024, and we will coordinate any closures that KDOT has with North Junction with our project as well. The Hoover Road project from 21st to 29th Street, we are in property acquisition. Right now, our property management folks have been reaching out to folks, and we are acquiring the necessary right-of-way and or easements so that we can begin construction on that project in 2024. And then the west portion of the 21st Street project from where it ends now, west to Mosley, we are completing design on that. Again, right-of-way acquisition is in progress, and we anticipate construction beginning on that project in 2024 as well. A new project on this list that wasn't here last time were downtown streets. We are under design to convert Main, Market, Topeka, and Emporia. Part of those are two-way now from Kellogg north to Douglas. We are have a project to convert those from Kellogg up to Murdoch, as well as English Street from Main to Emporia. We have, we'd like to order the traffic signal equipment by the end of the year. It is a long lead time on that, and our goal is to have those streets converted by the spring of 2025, prior to the Wichita hosting the NCAA tournament. Park project that we have going is the K9 Rooster Dog Park. We have been working with Garber to complete design on that project. And we hope to have that design completed first quarter of 2024 with construction starting thereafter, and that shouldn't take too long to complete that. I had submitted a Reconnecting Communities grant for a planning study on the 21st corridor from Broadway to I-135. I have been working back and forth with some of the local Federal Highway administrative personnel to complete that draft agreement. We were awarded the grant. That has been sent to Federal Highway Administration headquarters in DC for their review. We got some comments back, so hopefully we'll wrap that up soon. Councilmember Ballard and I will be going to DC for a conference or something later this month to hopefully speak about that project. But more to come on that. And then citywide projects, the multimodal facility or the hub, we have artist interviews on that. That is, as a reminder, that will be replacing the transit center that's at William and Topeka. The new facility will be located west of Riverfront Stadium on the west side of Sycamore. Plans have been submitted to MABCD for review, final plans. And once we get those, we'll put that out for bid.
So what's the timeline then?
So my guess is it's gonna take MABCD about 30 days to review plans. So my guess is we'll probably advertise it for bid later this year, the first part of next year, and then construction is approximately an 18-month, so be open June of 2025. And then the Dirt Streets program, the City Council approved $1.5 million of funding for 2024. And there are about 7 streets in District 6 that we will begin design on. We had the bottom ones there at Washington. We had started design on that. We've got the tracks that run right down the center of that street. We've been working with the railroad on that to see if we can remove those tracks so we don't have to pave on both sides of it. And those tracks have not been in service for a while. So that's taken a while to get through that. Hopefully we're getting closer to that. And that is my update. Are there any questions?
Couple.
Yes, sir.
First one has to do with the Broadway to I-35. I think you call it reconnect.
Reconnecting communities, yes.
Does that have anything to do with the railway exchange there?
Well, it does. You know, years ago, it's been studied before, and years ago, I think one of the a study had recommended moving the BNSF lines to the east and get those combined in a similar area with the UP lines, and do an overpass. I don't know, we're not real comfortable with that because it just, there's existing businesses there. And we gotta keep local, so we are going to restudy that. As we were preparing for the submittal of the grant, we have heard from folks. And one of the businesses, some of those trains, it's specifically the UP, they will block 21st Street for up to 45 minutes. They're switching or something. Or what they had said was they're waiting to get into the yard. And I want to pursue that comment a little bit more with them. I don't know if they're waiting, if we met the yard with the Central Rail Corridor, where we have 2 tracks that they can't get onto that. That's part of the backup. Or, if we won't get rid of the trains, and the businesses there understand it. They need them for their businesses. However, as one of them said, as a business, I like them, but as a citizen trying to get to my business, I don't like them. So there's a balance there. I don't know if there's something, what I'd like them to study is if there's something that can be done in the rail yards themselves, maybe. If they need to be expanded or something to reduce the time that the trains are blocked in 21st area. So it's not just that corridor. I think we're gonna have to look, a mile either side of it.
There's cause somewhere.
And dig into that a little bit.
My second question has to do with the conversion of everybody to two-way streets in the downtown corridor area.
Yes.
Are those gonna be converted into, I guess I'm gonna call them 3-lane streets?
That is yet to be determined. That's partly what we're going through right now is concepts. There's a new biomedical center going on down there. There's some other development happening, which, they need more parking. So we're looking at that. We're looking at lane configurations. We're looking at whether we put, if diagonal parking radius on one side of the street or the other. Some of them I just don't think there's the width to have parking in the 3-lane section. It might just be 1 lane each direction. So we're still kind of looking at that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just have a quick question about the bridge on Amadon here. So they rerouted the bike path up there to be able to access the east side of the bridge, which is very cool. But if you're going north, then you would cut on the east side of the bridge and then you end up in just a dead end on the sidewalk. And I just was curious if there are plans for actually creating a sidewalk so that there's access to the Twin Lake.
That was brought to my attention at the reeling academy.
Okay.
And I need to look at the plans to extend that north to 21st Street. It might be limited right away. I need to look at that, but we're pursuing that.
Yeah, it just doesn't even
Right.
exit even into the parking lot. It's-
Right.
It just.
Did look at it, in sidewalk from 21st to where you turn in, but then on the other, in front of the Dollar Tree and then all the way south to where it dead ends is nothing.
Yeah, we're looking at that. So
Cool. Thank you.
thank you.
Hey, a quick big thank you for the job you guys did and street maintenance on both the Amadon Street Bridge and how quickly you turned around the resurfacing of 37th Street.
It looks great.
Very impressive. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
The Hoover project, do you think that'll start late 2024 or early?
No, I think it'll start earlier. We're in, like I said, we're in the run back acquisitions period right now, so hopefully it'll get started sooner in 2020.
On the streets downtown, we're gonna have bike paths, right? Like, that's the plan, to get more different kinds of movement through there, not just cars, but bikes too.
So
Scooters.
we're looking at that as well. We've got a consultant that's updating the bicycle plan that was in place in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, there is the one-way, there's a pair of bike lanes, northbound on Topeka, or northbound on Market, southbound on Topeka. I think we need to revisit that as well, partly because I don't know how traffic patterns will change downtown once they're converted to two-way. The other thing that we have going on is the extension of Broadway. We converted it 3 lanes north of 13th Street up to 21st. We're looking at the same, carrying that same street down to 3rd Street. So we've got some things going on. As I said, we're updating the master bicycle plan, going through that process right now. So bike lanes downtown are still on the mind, and how we balance that between that and economic development, parking, and what will happen when the streets are converted to two-way. What does make sense for where the bike lanes should be on those downtown streets. This first phase is first and foremost getting the additional traffic signals installed for the new direction of traffic and getting them converted to two-way. There is additional funding in the capital improvement program in future years to make more permanent repairs and or streetscaping. So we can revisit it again at that time once the traffic gets balanced.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sure, Walt.
There, I have several questions for you. One of which has to do with how it is you decide which projects to actually do. For example, the 2-lane switches downtown. $5 million, that's a lot of money. I think we only spend 10 million to try to fix potholes, and they're all over the city. What is the cost benefit of that project?
Part of that, as we go through each year, we develop a capital improvement program. And as part of the city's budget. We take direction from boards, we get direction from city council members, and that goes into how those projects are programmed into the CIP. Once they're there, then we go through the design and, construction, but we kind of take the lead from boards as well as the council on how, what projects are in the CIP. It's a 10-year capital improvement program. Really, the first 5 years kind of get set. The next 5 years are more fluid. But, I think part of downtown, some of those streets are in poor condition. And it's, and as well as there's a lot that has happened downtown in recent years, and it's time to get those streets programmed.
Well, what is the benefit? I mean, are you gonna widen the streets? Are you gonna provide more parking? What's $5 million gonna buy us?
Well, $5 million will be, part of that will be the additional traffic signals, poles and mast arms needed for the new direction of traffic. Topeka southbound right now, if we convert it to two-way, we need to add signal poles for northbound traffic. That's a pretty good cost to do that. And then, like I say, just the restriping. Now, we are looking at lane configurations and if it makes sense to do additional parking and or diagonal parking. Create more parking for businesses downtown as things get redeveloped.
Another presentation that the city put on for 2-lane roads going opposite directions was more efficient, reduce traffic slowdowns for folks trying to get home during rush hour.
What about the homeless that are on the street?
Oh, I'm not sure.
You know,
What's
just-
300,000 for a dog park for? Why do we spend 300,000? When we need shelters for homeless, we've got all kinds of ways to take care of other people other than where dogs go to crap.
Pedestrian deaths, hit and runs,
It's
more hit and runs.
And again, we get input, and I think, as the capital improvement program and the budget is presented to the various district advisory boards, et cetera, each year. You can provide input at that. Once they're programmed, it is our, we start initiating those projects and getting going.
All right, my final question has to do with potholes. They're all over the city, and when the guys come out, they'll fix one, drive off and leave the rest. Or they won't compact the ones, so they become bowls, and pretty soon their water collects in, particularly in the winter. And then they start cracking and breaking up again. 21st Street, for example, from Amadon over to like Arkansas Avenue. You've got 29th Street with one hole after another. What does it take to get these things fixed and do the job right first time?
Well, we have a pretty robust, program, maintenance program that's based on a 40-year cycle. And, you know, years ago, we would do worst, you know, take care of the worst streets first. That model, you know, we take care of, what streets make sense to extend the overall life cycle of the overall network. We do some patching, but, you know, some of these, the OP3 program we talked about was getting the most return on our investment. We do, you know, concrete streets are quite expensive. Each district, I think, has about 16% of the overall maintenance budget. And then we rank those streets, you know, residential streets, concrete repair, and again, some of those mill and overlays that you had seen are not mill and overlay, concrete repair, and then an overlay, we extend the lives of those streets. There's some information on the city's webpage you can look at for our maintenance, but as I said, we will address the potholes, but we don't fix, you know, we have
Well, I think,
model that I can't think of the model.
they were supposed to do work, on, Amidon between Arkansas and Amidon, I think.
21st.
Or 21st, I'm sorry. But, I asked them to push that off because we were working on the bridge and I didn't want both of those sections, doing that much work at the same time. Because it was already a nightmare, as much as we tried to reroute 16,000 cars a day. So I know that we didn't lose our spot, we just pushed it back a little bit so that the bridge wasn't closed down at the same time. So I know that we're already slated and the funding's already been established for that project, so that part's coming.
So in the plan to that point, how do you adjust the plan when you have like these special bigger projects that redirect traffic? Like in this case with the Amidon Bridge, where you got, you know, 21st West, both now with excessive traffic that they didn't have.
I think I would say we do. But it sounds like that one just got pushed out maybe a year. We had done something similar down on Riverfront Stadium. I think the Plain Boulevard was slated to be done, but with some of those changes down there, we pushed it. You know, so we work with our maintenance crews as the capital improvement program is developed. So yes, we do show those things.
Any other questions?
So the Wichita website, they're gonna be redoing that soon. And in the Wichita website, there is a pothole reporting tool. Could that technology maybe affect how projects get redone or maybe reprioritized?
I think that all goes into the model in some type of form. And yes, we will be pushing out a new website that I think is more user friendly from what I've seen. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sure.
Where would we find a study that shows the speed argument, if that's the main argument for doing the two-way before the NAACP tournament gets here? For the two-way lanes,
Right,
where would we
right,
find a
right.
study that's showing the benefits? Yes, for the benefits. Do you know where
again, that's one of
the board thing?
I
What's
heard
that?
that District 1, and if you went to their website and their
District 1.
meeting minutes, then sometime over the last summer.
Maybe on it, you find the presentation that was done on the converting the streets. It might be through council.
And definitely if I can get your contact information, if I can request it or search for it and then send it your way.
Or would you be able to post it to your website with regard to these minutes, or would that be a while before it would get up there? Maybe both.
No, I can try to get that to you tomorrow.
I just thought maybe it would be nice if everybody, I would like it, but I'm not the only person who would probably like it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be public.
Yeah.
And then I would reach it where tomorrow.
I can,
Could it just be on the Facebook or wherever?
the District 6, webpage.
Okay, it's just as easy for you to do that, right?
So where we usually post our agendas and minutes, I can do an updated presentation
Okay, that's
and I
okay.
can label it.
I'll look for that.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we are now part of the public, we are on the public agenda now for tonight's agenda, and this is a portion of the agenda that provides anyone an opportunity to speak who is not here to present on an item that's already on the agenda. We have no scheduled items, so if anybody is here and they would like to present or speak, address the board, you guys would have 3 minutes, and I see a hand right up there. Vincent, you can go ahead and come up here.
Get that email.
I did, let me go ahead and pull it up real quick.
And then just move your mouse off of it and it'll do automatic.
Okay.
If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then that means you get to hear less with me, right? Vince Hancock, Delano neighborhood, wanted to appear on behalf of some of the neighbors who want to thank all of the district advisory board members for voting against this duplex, probably August, September area. You guys were pretty adamant, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. Well, sure enough, the developer has proved each and every one of you right. City council went ahead and voted it on through, even though we had the need for a supermajority. Sure enough, it started building around September. We had construction materials completely blocking the sidewalk. Where was central inspection? Nowhere to be found. We had construction vehicles blocking the sidewalk. Where was central inspection? Nowhere to be found. One morning, one of the neighbors called me at 5:45 saying, yeah, they started construction 15 minutes ago. City North ordinance, 7 a.m. Did this construction crew care? No. And I don't even know if that falls under PD enforcement or central inspection enforcement. Not there. The building is over the average height of the other two-story buildings in the neighborhood. The neighbors, to be polite, since we have a member of the planning department here, they feel that the exterior aesthetic does not match with the other buildings in the neighborhood. Affectionately, they call it the Bleeping Ugly House. You can fill in the math on the rest of it. So you guys made the right call. This company, this developer, their word meant nothing, and this is what they did to their neighbors, and so now they have to deal with that for quite a while, but you guys made the right call. Thank you for that. Let's keep this in mind next time this comes up.
All right, do we have anybody else who's here to present on the public agenda portion of tonight's meeting? With that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Councilmember Ballard.
Something.
Oh, sure, if you want to go ahead and come up here to the podium.
I wasn't prepared to, but I have
That's fine.
Google Docs that I had. I'm in ED and I'm in actually District 1, but I have this family who are kind of also in Riverside, so I'm the I can't remember the address, Arthur. my brother.
1600 North Woodrow Court.
But I was at a meeting with the Better Cities Project, it's based out of Kansas City. And Patrick Twoggy. I don't remember what his role is there anymore, this is actually probably one of the last meetings of 2020, days is like February 21st. I mean, reality of economic development incentives. And he's part of the Show Me Institute. Actually, I'm sorry, he was talking about Kansas City a bit, but he might be. It's the Missouri, it's like a Missouri organization. And there's something about Powell's that I thought was worth sharing. Basically, maybe this is a little inappropriate. I think it was, but I mean, it was in a public meeting that well, it was in a meeting. But it said, you know, you're not gonna win. They're talking about getting people investment, getting people to stay here, getting people, businesses to move here, people to stay here. You're not going to win by swinging for the fences, cut the grass and repair the streets. Tell companies you come here because we're good and we play none of your games. It's okay to make decisions that don't make money. It's fine to say this is for fun. Just don't also try to say that it makes money if it isn't. So I guess that also applies to like, it's fine to make a decision. I guess for low or something that don't just also say or And it's, I don't know, just to speed things, I don't know, it's like, we don't have to, we have to be careful with our costs and benefit claims. And, I don't know how many minutes in that, but maybe I'll just post or is there a place for the public to post on, like, shared notes so they didn't get shared?
If you wanna post the link, if it's a document or website, you can post the link under, right now we're live on Facebook, Wichita District 6 Facebook page. You can go ahead and post the link on there. And that way members of the public can access that as well.
Oh, yeah, okay. But basically, so there's no substitute for just taking care of the potholes and spending money in ways that are just regular, like obvious.
Thank you. Alright, do we have anybody else who's wanting to speak on the public agenda? No. With that, I will turn it over to Councilmember Ballard for new business.
The first thing that we are gonna talk about is the tree canopy policy. Paul, you're up.
Okay. I will be back.
You're doing double duty tonight.
Yeah, I do, and triple because of my park department gentleman had another commitment, so that's okay. You can go to the next slide, Anna, thank you. I'm going to talk about the proposed tree canopy policy. We had gone to a council workshop on this before, and then we've gone to the park board, as well as we were going to the district advisory boards, and we've gone to the sustainability integration board to get comments on this proposed policy. As I go through this, you'll kind of see, although many of the principles addressed in the policy are already in action to varying degrees by internal work groups, this policy provides a written guide to promote a healthy tree canopy, preserve it, and expand it through purpose-driven decision-making. The policy applies specifically to public projects and is intended to convey appropriate value on the infrastructure that is the urban tree canopy. We want to ensure a diverse tree canopy as well, and by that I mean not plant the same type of tree, to get, plant various types of species so that if a disease or something comes through, then it does not impact all trees. Next slide. Thank you. Policy recognizes and utilizes information provided by the NASA developed study that identifies multiple urban heat islands within the city. Environmental justice and climate change take center stage in that study. And with the information detailed in that study, we can effectively target areas of the city that lack tree canopy and are disproportionately affected by elevated temperatures. Policy provides guidance for the forestry and capital improvement projects and tree removal and placement activities occur and dictates greater public engagement efforts to increase communications to citizens and stakeholders. I'll talk a little bit more about that as I get into the capital improvement program portion of this. The map, next, yes, thank you. The map on the screen was developed using multiple data points, including but not limited to surface and air temperatures, tree canopy cover, and demographic data to identify the 17 tracks that are depicted on this map. And those are the census tracts with the bold numbers and kind of the mauve color there. And yeah, so the numbers I think are the census tract numbers. We just highlighted those. Bolded those so you knew what tracks we were talking about. Next slide, please. Then the implementation of the plan, park and forestry initiatives attached to the policy places a priority on planting trees in the street right of ways, I guess within that census tract that was shown on the previous page. The contracted tree planting that will begin this fall, I think they had Southeast High students come out and plant about 800 trees, I believe, and then they were planting another phase of those. And some of the tracks identified. Future initiatives will be promoted on social media as well as the DAB meetings to improve public engagement. You know, it's gonna take quite a few years to see what the impact of these trees that we were planting, because it just takes them quite some time to grow. Regarding capital improvement projects. When designing capital improvement program projects, city will retain and protect as many trees as possible within the scope of the project. We do this already. We also have a city landscape architect, designer, and city forestry expert that are part of the design team. This policy will establish criteria for impact to trees based on number and or size of trees, and the public engagement through project development, social media. Again, I talked about that. Direct contact, as well as district advisory board. So go to the next slide. This slide shows what has been done in the past as we present projects to the district advisory board. Pretty broad level. This, we bring this to the district advisory board at about 30% plan development. And within this slide, you can see we are trying to, along this, this is 135th Street. So on the east side, you can see we're moving the sidewalk towards the back of curb to protect those trees within the right of way. What we are proposing with this tree policy is to come back to the district advisory boards as we are further along in development of the plans, say approximately 80% development. And at that time, we can identify more, you know, what the impact of the trees could be. And if you look at the other side of the street up here, you can see there's some trees there that we don't know at this time whether they will be impacted. They appear to be, but we might be able to put up a retaining wall or something within that area to protect some of those trees. So we're adding a step to our process that as we do now to come back to the district advisory board when the plans are further along. Next slide. This is a project, a previous project that we had done on 13th Street from 111th or 119th to 135th. Again, we had adjusted the sidewalk to salvage trees as much as possible, although some of those trees, as you can see by the X, were removed for various reasons. Next slide. Again, efforts will be made to protect existing trees to remain within project boundaries. We are working with the park department at this time to develop a detail that we would show on the plans to protect the existing trees by either a orange snow fence or something around the trunks of the trees, like the trunks of the trees, as well as extend that fence out far enough to help protect the root zone of those trees as well. The trees to be placed on capital improvement projects will follow the guidelines set forth in the existing landscape policy for street trees with a tree planting plan developed for each project. That policy takes into consideration above and below ground utilities. It would take into consideration any pedestrian crosswalks that might be signalized and or signalized intersections so that we plant a tree, the limbs don't, you know, as it branches out, won't block those signals. Also takes into effect, you know, driveways and or street connections so that we're not causing a site visibility there as well. If space, you know, if space is not available to accommodate plan, then the city will make every attempt to plant the trees in the project area or within close proximity. That's within a quarter mile of the project site. First, if we can get them in those census tracts as noted, or as noted previously. Next slide. This is again, a previous project we had on Greenwich Road. The darker circles for the trees, those are new trees. The lighter ones were salvage trees, so we will make every attempt that we can to get additional trees on projects if there is space. And again, going back to the utilities, we would not plant an oak tree under an Evergy line. We would, you know, as was done in the past, where we beat them out, we would get a more appropriate species that wouldn't grow as tall that could go under those lines. So, again, there are some, within the policy itself, it does have a list of species that are appropriate for this area. And we would lean on the park department and Gary Paris Forestry to help us identify what trees are appropriate for that. As well as, you know, taking into consideration the roots of the trees, and we don't want them to push up sidewalks, as has been done in the past as well, so. Next slide, and this is my last slide. The City of Wichita Communications team has created a form that includes a draft tree policy and park board presentation, which was similar to this. We added a few slides to this with projects that we had done previously. And also comments may be submitted on the website. So, and you can get it by that QR code as well. So I'll answer any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
Yeah, a couple, but let's start out with a comment. It's based on history, my observation of history. First, I want to compliment you guys for the job you did with the water department, building and implementation. You did come back and talk to us about the tree saving plan and told us what had to be sacrificed and how you were going to remediate that. Good job. That would have been a really good example for this pitch. Now let me get to the meat of what I want to share with you. Because part of it's engineering, and the rest of it I know probably goes back to Parks and Recreation and Forestry Department. Based on history, I'm going to refer to the North Amidon widening project that took place probably 10 years ago, I'm guessing. We removed a tremendous canopy up there. Part of it was a lot of aged trees, but instead what we put back were what I consider to be ornamental, not shade trees. Canopy will never be created with that. My encouragement, and I'm going to take it back to Parks and Recreation personally, is at least twofold. One, ensure that when we talk about canopy, we're really doing that we're selecting off. I looked at that list of 2023 updates for trees, and there's a lot of really nice canopy trees in there. Striking a balance so that we build the canopy for the future, and yet also include enough of the faster growing ornamental trees so we get some green in place. So that's one encouragement. Another, this policy is not going to work fast enough or fully enough to replace what we're losing from trees in the city. And I am not a tree hugger, but I like breathing clean air and I like shade. My encouragement, and maybe this goes back to the city council, is for the city to look at possibly creating and supporting a program that would allow residents to have access to either really low cost or free trees and be responsible for planting and caring for those on their property. And the other, one other thing, real quickly, I'm sorry, it's got to go back to Parks and Recreation, I know. That's this CARE program. I noticed in here we've got tree protection. That needs to be extended, the concept needs to be extended beyond the construction process to having a robust enough program to care for those newly planted trees. It's crazy how many of those we lose.
It is, and if Gary were here, and that's what we've talked about, you know, and even engineering projects, capital improvement project. As our specifications are written right now, the contractor is basically responsible for a tree for a year. Well, probably don't go out and water it. It dies, so they just replace it right before we accept the project. But we have talked to, and that's some of the things that we have talked to Gary, you know, as we've worked on this policy, and that you've hit it on the head. We need to, whatever plants, trees we plant out there, we have to have a maintenance program to support what we're planting.
There's somebody driving by every 6 months and throwing a 5-gallon bucket.
It doesn't work, right? You need to probably, if Gary was here, you'd say you need to take care of that tree for at least 3 years to get it established. We just don't have that in our spec. We have talked about as we've gone through this, once the trees are planted, is there a way to just turn that over to the forestry or park staff at that time and have some type of budget out of our capital improvement, or something, set some of that money aside into another fund that they could maintain those trees. So we're still working through that. It is in the forefront of us, how we, that we have talked about that. We can plant all the trees out there that we want, but if we can't maintain them, it's not doing it.
And if we don't achieve the balance.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
I would just offer, during the workshop, Gary mentioned that in the public right away, we take out between 3,000 and 5,000 trees a year. And we're not even putting back half of that.
Right.
So, I'm the one that's been pushing really hard for this tree canopy policy because we definitely need something in place. Some of our new economic, guideline, whatever, paperwork or whatever for the, businesses and developers are requiring more landscaping in trees and not just the ornamental trees. So I think we are moving in the right direction, but we are thousands and thousands and thousands of trees behind because what we're taking out isn't even including what is being done on private property. So we are working with a couple of different nonprofits to talk about what type of incentives could we do even for people on their private property to plant trees. Which leads me to tomorrow, if anybody is free, we're planting 400 trees out of the Alice Wall Memorial Park. We were given free trees or at a very, very, like $1 or $2. And they already planted like 250 a couple weeks ago, and we have 400 more that need to go in the ground. So if anybody wants to come help, it's all volunteer. And I'm really excited that we are doing that. Southeast High School. Their students planted the first 240, but we need to get the other ones in the ground before it gets too cold. So if we can just get some more initiatives, and they do take a lot of time and effort and energy and money to keep up with the trees. I heard you were talking about the heat islands, and it's interesting because there's 17 areas that we'll be focusing on, and those 17 areas are in underserved areas where some of those residents or landlords cut all the trees down because of the maintenance. But now the concrete is so hot outside that the kids aren't playing and it doesn't provide any shade whatsoever. Or, homeowners are responsible for replacing the sidewalk. And when the tree roots are popping up their sidewalk and then that gets tacked on their property tax, it's easier for them to get rid of the trees. And now we're kind of paying the price for it. So, I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's definitely gonna be a big community effort. It's not something that the city can just do on its own. So everybody go plant a tree, please.
And we are engaged in utility companies as well. I know the gas company, we have the plans, they will try to work on the trees as well, so we are engaged.
Any more questions?
So, in the individual request section of the presentation, is there anybody that looks at those individual requests? I just want to make sure that, I think there's 15% of the trees we're gonna plant are gonna be done as individual requests. And I just want to make sure that we're not gonna go out and plant a tree in a place that, we have all these projects, you said that the 10-year plan. I just want to make sure we're not gonna plant a tree in an area that we know we're gonna dig up 7 years from now. So I think that there is a program that citizen can request trees. There's probably a way to move, but I think there was some areas, and Gary had talked about it at previous jabs that I heard him talk about, they would go into some areas, but if a property owner could decline, the tree to be planted in the yard, we would be okay with that because, if they're not gonna take care of it, we're not gonna put it out there.
Right.
So I think there is a program that's kind of on. Yeah, so.
I just want to make sure that we don't have individuals that are requesting trees to be put in places we know are bad. And then, I would really echo what Bill said about, somewhere how to provide low-cost trees to homeowners to plant in their own areas. I think that would be a big help to grow in this canopy more so than what we could do on the right of way.
Right, yeah, the right of way is just a small portion. I haven't asked them which spot, so.
Are there any more questions from DAB members before we go to the public? Okay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna ask if there was other training programs, because with your idea of having people do something for 3 years, take care of them, commit to taking care of the trees that are planted, maintenance over time. What would be the training programs? What would be the umbrella groups that would take that on? Is
Could I respond to that
Yeah.
first?
Go for it.
And so I will tell you that specifically when a park was installed in our neighborhood, I talked to individuals about the neighborhood, maintaining these trees, watering them, caring for them, trying to ensure that they would be nurtured properly. And I was told not to do that. So you're right, there would have to be some training and an agreement between, if it's on city property, between the city and the individuals to take that on, from what I was told.
or if it was a private incentive program too, it would still have to be that agreement.
Couldn't you work with like ICT tree huggers or
They
ICT?
We have engaged them. In fact, we met with them last week. We've talked, yes, so they are engaged.
Yay, go Sarah and Sandra. I love that.
You said you're not a tree hugger. You didn't mean you're not an ICT tree hugger fan. Okay.
But I like trees.
I had a couple of questions. The city, earlier this year, was named one of the worst areas for pollen. Is that a part of the consideration in what trees are being planted? I'm not an arborist. I don't know why our trees are overproducing pollen and why we're worse than other cities.
Yeah, I'd have to get back with you on that. I'm not
Sounds
sure. I'm not, yeah.
And to the point that Councilmember Ballard said, with paperwork and all that new businesses, is it possible, because I think about downtown, how many empty parking lots there are and just how hot it gets in the summer. When folks are, and I assume this would have to apply to new businesses, when folks are installing parking lots, submitting plans and reconfiguring those, is there any way to make those such that there is medians that are planted with greenery, something that can perhaps get rid of that heat island that is so much downtown for most of the year?
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a landscape.
We do have a landscape
And,
ordinance
yeah,
and for landscape street yards and for landscape parking lots.
Yes.
But that's only, there's restrictions to that and there's exceptions to
And
that.
enforcements, that's not to say that's your fault. just,
Yeah.
you know,
Part of it.
I've heard about it.
Yeah.
And not seen a whole lot. Yeah. And then the last thing, this is, again, apologies, more of a comment, but to run up the chain to perhaps the city manager, but when entities talk about buying park and city green spaces, perhaps nipping those RFPs in the bud instead of needing a concerted pressure campaign from citizens would show a greater commitment to the tree canopy policy. Then this is great, to be clear, love this, but when it takes, 20 folks showing up to a meeting on Tuesday to stop someone from buying a city park, that doesn't really show a city's commitment to the green spaces.
Yes, sir.
I have, one side of the equation, you want to plant some trees. But like, Bill over here said, Amadon between 21st, 29th Street, we got twigs and a third of them are dead. So what's being done if you're gonna plant all these trees? What are you doing to maintain them, make sure they get their roots established, keep enough water on them so they can actually thrive? And like you said, don't plant just ornamental little trees. They're gonna be 10 foot tall. So let's have a canopy. What is the strategy to make sure what's planted will actually survive?
Well, I think that goes back to what I'd said before, our current specifications, contractor, keep them up for 1 year. Do they water them during that year, maybe a couple times. If it's dead at the end of that year, they'll go out, put a new tree, and then we turn it over to our park department, forestry staff. So we have talked about maintenance through this program and how we can beef that up so that we can get a better percentage of trees that live. So we are working on that. We've talked about a separate budget, for our capital improvement program. If it was planting trees, we would have another, fund or take part of that out of that project, put in another fund so that there is money to maintain the trees that we have.
Are those people employed by the city or are you relying on?
Well,
contracts?
and that's something that we would discuss, whether we could do it in-house or whether we would need to hire out a contractor. But again, contractor, we need to make sure that they are out there watering the trees, et cetera. So, yes. And regarding your, in both comments regarding the species of trees and the canopy, again, you know, if there is an evergreen line on one side of the street, we might not be able to do the canopy, but we could do it on the other side, you know, plant the trees that get taller so that they're not, you know, we want them smaller trees so they're not grown up into the utility lines and then years down the road, they come in and do them. So that all goes into the equations as we plant the trees.
I'm really glad you're here, and I thank Maggie for bringing this forward. We brought this issue up several weeks ago. So part of the problem, of course, is you plant a tree, but we've got thousands of trees in this city that are dying. And I'm very concerned about what's going to be done to take care of all the dead limbs and the dead trees. Not only on public property, but private property. Is there a plan that you've worked out to help get those down, trimmed, if nothing else, and hauled away?
I can only speak to the public right of way, and I know that park department is actively removing dead trees. However, there are so many, as you said, that they are taking care of the dangerous ones. For example, I heard from in Councilmember Fry's district, District 5, there was a couple dead pine trees out there near Maple and Maze Road. I provided that information to the forestry department, but they're not on their high priorities because they are just, you know, they're not in danger at this time. They're taking care of the dead trees that are a danger to the public.
Well, I've had experience myself. It took 2 years to get them to come take care of one tree. And when they came out, there's 2 guys doing the work. One guy with a bucket, another guy down on the ground, but at least 8 or 10 guys and a couple supervisors. This isn't working. What are we going to do to help get these trees out of the way so we're not dropping limbs on cars and houses? And haul this stuff away. You got a strategy in mind? What will be done?
I don't tonight, but I'll take that forward.
Maggie, do you know of anything else that's being discussed?
Nope, I know that we are way behind on maintenance of keeping up with the tree demand, per se, for trimming trees. We've talked about putting out an RFP to try to help us get caught up. But I'm not sure, I haven't heard an update on that, but I'm happy to find out and let you know.
Yeah, thank you so much.
May I add one other quick thing?
Sure.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but in the presentation, there's a link down there. It's kind of obscure where you can provide comments to the policy. Now, this is for the right of way policy. So you can comment on this policy and express those concerns for construction projects. But there'll also be a link out there for Parks and Recreation, Forestry, where you can submit concerns as well.
I'm coming back to this issue because, you know, like with potholes, you send a crew out, they fill one hole, just drive over the others. Same way with the trees. If you trim a branch, you know, the rest of the trees got branches that are dead, or you got a tree right next to it. What is your strategy to actually make better use of your facilities? We're paying for the taxpayers' work, you know, the equipment and the employees. But if they just stand around, look at each other, and somebody up there doing the work and nobody's cleaning up. After they took that tree out, I had to spend at least half a day raking up all the limbs that they left behind. They could have put all that stuff on their trailer before they left, but they didn't. Same with the potholes. They fix one area and then just walk away, and it's within a few feet. There's another hole. They didn't fill it. So what is the strategy here to keep these folks actually productive?
I will pass that on to forestry and see if we can get an answer for you.
I'm sorry.
That's
I don't
okay.
know.
You know,
That's
sometimes we
eerie.
don't know some of this stuff until we hear the feedback from you all. So even though it's not the news that we want to hear, that's the only way that we can try to help fix the problem. So I will find out and let you know.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we are going to, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on. I'm sorry. Last question.
Last question, sorry,
That's
just really quick. Have we looked into federal funding to help us with our watering woes to establish these trees? Because there are a lot of programs out there that we're the 49th largest city. Why can't we get federal funds to fix these problems?
I would say, there are some grants that are available. Olathe just got $1 million this year and Hutch got 250,000. So we are actively looking for grants and they are specifically for planting and maintenance, which is exactly what we need because we don't have enough staff to to keep up with the demand. So if we can hire somebody and that's specifically what the funding is for, then we can try to help get caught up a little bit. So yeah.
Awesome. And then you can recruit them at the arborist showcase over at Oak Park.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we need to move on to the next item.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Christina, it's the conditional use 2023-0052.
Thank you, council member. I'm Christina Reed and I'm with the planning staff. The applicant for this case is requesting a conditional use to allow utility major on property zone LI Limited Industrial District. It's 1.81 acres in size and it's addressed to 402 North Mead Avenue. We just scroll down a little bit, as you can see, it goes all the way from East 3rd Street to Central Avenue and then between Mead Avenue and Rock Island Avenue. So the reason that they're requesting this conditional use is to expand the existing substation, which was completed around 1950. So if we look at all these parcels here, it's developed at the bottom. We have a building known as the Keep Clean building, and that's located at East 3rd Street North. There's a small manufacturing, above that is the existing substation, and then just north of the existing substation is a small manufacturing facility located at 433 North Rock Island Avenue. And then just north of that is a property for an upholstery business and warehouse. And if you guys didn't know this already, right on Central Avenue is the very first Phillips 66 station in America. So you guys probably recall hearing this case not too long ago. It did not include the property that is the parcel to the north. So they did approve a conditional use to expand the substation, and that was Con 2023-00022. So the site plan and the proposed demolition that's associated with the substation expansion occurred this afternoon. And so the Wichita Historic Preservation Board actually approved demolishing not the Phillips 66 building, but the warehouse and the outbuildings associated with that property. However, they did recommend denial for the demolition associated with the building to the south. But that's already been approved by the Wichita City Council, and you guys have already heard that case there. So as a condition of approval for this conditional use request, we require the applicant to submit a site plan for the review by the Wichita Historic Preservation Board. And this will be, so the demolition plan for the southern building will be heard on November 21st, so a week from tomorrow. The subject site is unplatted and it's exempt from platting due to its public utility status. And then I'm skipping ahead here because I know you guys have heard a lot of this before. It's in conformance, the proposed conditional use is in conformance with the community investments plan. If we take a look at the 2035 Wichita Future Growth Concept Map, it identifies the site to be appropriate for residential and employment mix. And then the locational guidelines of the community investments plan encourage infill development that maximizes public investment in existing and planned infrastructure and services. It's also in conformance with the goals of the Wichita Places for People plan, because if we look at strategy 6 as part of the Places for People plan, it encourages infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the environment in which it's occurring. So we have a substation here, they're looking to expand it, that's contextual to the environment. So based upon the information available at the time the report was prepared, staff recommends that the conditional use be approved, subject to the conditions that are listed in your staff report, which includes that the site plan must be, well, now that it's going to city council, the site plan must be approved by city council. And then you have your other comments or conditions of approval. I haven't received any public comment on the requested conditional use. I have received some, from the Historic Preservation Board, but not in relation to this particular report. So as you can see through the site here, this is the very first Phillips 66 station in America. These two have been approved for demolition by the Historic Preservation Board. That is the existing substation. You can see the Phillips 66 station there, that'll remain intact. If you want to scroll up, or actually it doesn't matter. Yeah, so the Evergy is proposing to demolish these portions of the Keep Clean building. This one here where you see the triangle, the sawtooth roof, that will remain intact. And then the buildings at the top here where your mouse is, those are slated for demolition. That was approved by the Historic Preservation Board. This did go to MAPC on October 26th, and it was approved unanimously, 11-0. I'm happy to stand for questions. If not, I have the owner of the Keep Clean building here, the owner of the Phillips 66 station here, and they'll be able to answer any questions that I cannot. Yes.
If we could flip down to the, I guess I'd call it, yeah, well, wait a minute, there it is, right there, the view of the Keep Clean building. What, I come down,
The bottom left
let's see.
corner.
I guess, yeah, that's it right there on the upper right.
The upper
I
right's
probably
the side.
misread it in the report, but I thought I saw the words retain the facade.
Yes, so if we look at the garage doors right here, that will turn into a wall facade, and then they will preserve this part of the building here. But there's a barrel roof, that's part of the garage doors, and they're proposing to leave up the garage doors as a facade and the rest will be demolished, so that's what they're proposing.
I guess just for clarification for me, it doesn't affect my vote, but I'm trying to understand how much of that building will remain. Can you show that from an aerial view? Or?
Yes, we do have the site plan, actually.
Okay.
Yep, here we go. So this is where you see the garage doors.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's where they're leaving the wall. The rest of that, they're going to demolish, or they're proposing to demolish.
Okay.
And then, this building right here is not historic. This one is part of the Phillips 66 station property. And then the Phillips 66 station will remain intact.
So let me try my question again.
Yes.
I'm trying to locate, I guess I didn't pay enough attention when I was down there today. Where is the sawtooth roof at?
The sawtooth roof is where you see that it changes, like where the shadows are.
Okay.
Yep,
So that'll remain.
that would remain.
So it and the office that's now the electric company will remain?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They're actually gonna be like they're gonna be utilizing it as offices. So, and again, I wanna try to make sure that we're commenting on the land use because Historic Preservation Board just had their meeting today.
I want to get into that.
And yeah.
Are there any more questions from the DAB? Okay, questions from the public? Anybody have questions for Christina?
How do the owners feel about it?
Well, how do the owners feel about it?
We're in support of it.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just for clarification, to answer your question. This was the original building right here,
Right.
and they refer to the tower. The tower actually is a second story in a portion of the building that extends from here all the way to the north. On one of their slides, they show the facade for the two overhead doors. And actually, there's three windows. There's two overhead doors and a window, and that wall to the original building is right there. The historical board has it two right here. So there's a little gray area in there. So Evergy has agreed to leave this facade, the main portion of the building, and take this warehouse that was added at a later date and is totally dissimilar on this side, different block, different brick, different everything than was originally built with the original building, the historical building. As is the case with these appendages, these buildings here. These we don't know, we can't confirm exactly when they were built. But this is a cinder block building, doesn't resemble anything here, doesn't resemble anything here. This, it was built for a boiler room and it doesn't resemble this or this or this. So the way I feel about it, I think Evergy has made every effort to appease the historical board and say, we'll leave that, which is the historical, architectural significant, and all the criteria for the historical board. And get rid of the rest of it so they can expand that yard. You know, they're under the gun with the green agendas and more power needed, and this is their oldest substation, supposedly the worst substation in their system. And it's ripe for failure. So how do I feel about it? This for us is an opportunity to build a new building. I own this property from here up. And we'll build a new building on this property, which is now our park. So, to me, it's an opportunity and I hate to get rid of this building because we put our heart and soul into it. But we need a larger facility, we increased employees, and this is our opportunity to do that. And because they're leaving what's prominent as far as the historical significance, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't let them do it. And we'd like to move, and I could still see that building. If they were ever gonna tear it down, I'd just move. I'd never watch it. We brought it back from the dead in around 2005, 2006. So that's how I feel about it.
Thanks for clarifying.
Respectfully don't agree with the historical folks. Thank you.
So real quick, while we got you, and either one of you, when they say facade, have they described to you, I mean, are we essentially just talking?
Excuse me?
For the facade, just the front of the building, is that more or
Yes.
less the plan? So
So
essentially it's
another slide that shows the
a
elevation.
matching wall.
Come back. This is the two-story portion of the
Right.
building. That's the facade. The city says it's here, you're in error. It's from here, I'm sorry, historical board.
It's okay.
It's from here over. So warehouse, the barrel house starts here and goes across, and this was added at some time, but it matches architecturally everything else. And Evergy's willing to leave that and then to extend their concrete wall from there to hide the facilities.
So the only two actual historically architectural buildings are the ones further north on Rock Island, the 433, I think it is, the original Phillips office.
433 doesn't match his building or
433 is
mine.
not listed as historic.
Oh,
And that was part of the first conditional use. But then 447 North Rock Island is part of the Phillips 66 station property. And so,
that's the one on the lower left there?
yeah, so this is 447 and this is 433. So 433 is not listed as historic. 447 is, according to the parcel, it's on the Phillips 66 station property.
But those are both being removed?
Yes, the Historic Preservation Board voted for their demolition this afternoon.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your clarification.
Scott, you guys wanna share any?
I don't have any comments at this time because we got approved, so I think the focus now is on the Keep Clean building and my colleagues being able to follow through with that portion of the project. But if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to try to answer it for you.
It's not related to this motion, but I would like to ask you something later.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do about headliners.
Oh, it's something I know about.
Does anybody have any more questions? Anybody? Make a motion.
I'd make a motion to accept staff recommendations.
I'd second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Yep, thank you.
Did Zach step up? I just wanna write down how many are in attendance for the DAB meetings. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Lisa is here, I look, Zach left.
Okay, I'll just say 7-0 in my report then. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Thank you. Tyler, you're up. The Wichita.gov redesign presentation and feedback. So we're looking at feedback. Thanks, Christina. Thank you.
Enable it so I can.
All right, so I'm Tyler Chipmeyer, the City of Wichita Communications, and you can pull up the. While she's doing that, so our current website, I don't know how many of you have seen the current Wichita.gov, it's outdated, search function doesn't work. Navigation isn't the easiest, we've had a lot of complaints about it.
It's challenging.
It's challenging, yes. It's sum it all up, it's challenging. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we did a survey of residents, users. If you could change one thing, what would it be? Search function was number one by far. The way it's configured was number two. We talked to city staff. It was the exact same. Search function was number one, and the layout was number two. So moving forward, don't worry, there's nothing really to show quite yet. So moving forward, this is going to only be Wichita.gov. This is not WichitaLibrary.org. It's not Wichita Transit, so it's just Wichita.gov. But we also have, I don't know how many of you know of Access Wichita, where you can report issues. So we got two websites basically under one organization. It's kind of confusing for people to go to both places. So we're going to combine those functions into one.
Should have an option to go full screen. So we go.
So with this, we are using a company called Civic Plus. They're out of Manhattan, Kansas. This is what they do. They build government websites. So they've built several throughout the country, and they're helping us kind of redesign and construct the site we're on now.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Straight up, little that way, up, and then hit the minimize, or no, is that the whole?
I can't see
Oh,
it.
I'm
from
sorry,
over here.
X on that chat, down, yep, there we go. All right, so this is what the homepage of the new website's gonna look like. You come on here, and one of the cool features is every time you come on the site, this background image will change out, so it kind of gives you a different look every time you're on the page. So it's not the same old thing. Up here on the top, we have our site navigation. So government, it's pretty self-explanatory. You got boards and committees, EDA information, city council. One thing, over the weekend, I just built this out. Before, you'd have to go to each and every department or whatever to get to that board information. Now we have boards and committees, and you can search through every single one of our boards and get information on those. So you can find it both in the department and now on just that page. Then departments, you'll notice here also, each of these have kind of subtopics, so we're getting people to where they want to be quicker. So like pavement striping within the ADA or service animals, that's one less click you have to get somewhere. Departments, we couldn't quite do that because we have so many departments and so many sub items under that, you'd be scrolling forever. Business is do business with city, different resources we have available, economic development, license permit. One thing I like to note here is with license and permit, one thing I might think to go to Wichita.gov and go to business to look for a license and permit. Someone else might not think like that, so they come over here and it's like, how do I? And then they want to report an issue or apply for a license permit. So we're trying to make it pretty intuitive. So if you are different ways of thinking about how to get somewhere, you can find that information easily.
That's great.
And under community, just some more items here. And then how do I will get into this a little bit more later, but we have report an issue. We talked about the merger, Access Wichita coming into Wichita.gov, so now that's all on one location instead of having to go to several websites. I'll cover that in just a little bit. Anywhere you're on the website, you click on the logo and it'll take you back to the homepage. And then search bar. Everybody was talking search was the number one thing that we wanted fixed. A week ago, when I presented to 3 of the dabs, we were still having issues with search and we weren't sure we were gonna be able to launch on time. I got an email on Friday saying it's fixed and we're good to go, so we're aiming for December 7th launch time. I was starting to lose a little bit of hair up here. I was a little worried that we were gonna hit that time frame, but it's gonna happen now. And then just below that, so we're gonna start looking at the data on the page and see where people are going. So right now, we're just taking a guess on data on the current site and where we think people are going, jobs, boards and commissions, make a payment, report an issue, that sort of stuff. So all those key topics, you come to the site, it's right there. Scroll down, I don't know if you know, on the current site, we have the banner that just kind of scrolls, it's kind of distracting. Sometimes we put stuff there that just doesn't have a good home anywhere else in the website. So this is where you can have some of that information. You click on any of these to get that, and you can scroll on your own pace or scroll right past it. You don't have that just hit right in the face anymore. I didn't know over here, we have all these tabs. They just move you up and down the home screen to different places. So moving down below that, one thing people have wanted for a long time is a calendar function on wichita.gov. So on the homepage, we have it just broken out. So any and all events, city, Wichita related, so that can be Park and Rec Department, Botanica, whatever, we can have on the events tab and then public meetings tab. So I scroll forward here to December because that's when we're launching. So you can see here we have all the different meetings, DAB meetings, city council, agenda review, that sort of thing. But you can only see so many on this view. So you come down here a little bit. You go into our calendar module. And you can see the entire month worth of meetings.
Is this like a community calendar or just citywide?
This will be just citywide for now. Maybe down the road, we can look at a community calendar and what that would look like. But I think with the way these calendars work, that's something that could easily separate out because you can do this select a calendar. And once all of these different, items in here are gonna have their own events and meetings and stuff, that's gonna be quite a bit and it's gonna fill up that whole calendar. Let's say I just want to see city council meetings and come here and clear that out. And I want to see city council meetings, workshops, hit search. And it will filter the calendar out. So I see just those items. Maybe, here we go. So there's December. So I can come over here and then just click and get more information about that item. And there's also, I'll show you a facilities module here in a little bit. It's attached to each of those meetings. So you can get information about the facility you're going to.
Tyler, does the calendar offer syndication? People can subscribe to it on
Yeah,
their.
I'll get to that. Yep.
Okay.
So. And then below the calendar, we put all council on the homepage. They're not currently there right now. If people come to the website, they want to see who their city council is, so they're right there. And then you can click on each of their pictures and it goes directly to their pages. And then something new we've started doing within communications is a city council recap. So one of us up in the communications department will sit there and take note of what happens with each agenda item in a council meeting, what the vote is, and then do a recap at the end. And so we're going to start putting those on the website as well. This engage with us, it was going to be social media, but up here at the top, we already have all our social icons. So we're putting our forum tool. It's not new. We have a new platform with website, but we've had forum for a little while now where you can engage and comment on projects. You can just kind of go directly into the website from right here and view different projects and that sort of thing. And then one of the new tools I mentioned already is our facilities module. So come here and you can see all of our facilities within the city of Wichita, the city facilities. There's everything from parks, fire stations, libraries. If you want to find a certain facility type, say, I just want to see whatever libraries are out there, hit search, and then you can pull up each one of those and filter it out that way, get more information on it. Or if, didn't work the way I wanted it to the other night. See if we can get it to work this time. Find something with a lily pond. That was a facility type. Okay, so I gotta have a park. I want a park and a lily pond. And then it's these two here. That was the only two. Or you want to search benches or playgrounds, whatever features, you can search by feature as well.
Is this pulled in by chance to the subset for parks and recreation, so you get a picture of the park?
Yeah, so if on the current site that we have, if there was pictures and stuff there, those have all transferred over onto this module. Yep. I think we have an example here. So yeah, I'd come in here to this facility And it shows the features of that facility, and you can scroll through some of the pictures that are there now. And then there's some background information and address and all that sort of stuff.
You had this third party design the site.
Mhm.
Is just city staff still maintaining it?
Yeah, it's, I don't think I covered, I've given this so many times, forgive me, I forget what I've talked about. So we didn't really have an owner of the content of the website before. IT has kind of maintained the site. And departments would just feed them information and they would update it. No one's ever really owned the content. So communications is gonna own the content from now on, and I'm gonna be the, I guess, the system administrator. Yeah, lucky me. But, so I'm gonna be in charge of updating the site, and making sure everything stays fresh and that sort of thing. So yes, it is a third-party site, but we're the ones still maintaining it moving forward. They helped us build it. They have all these other facilities, or these other cities across the country that they've helped with, and we use their expertise to help design the site, but we have quite a bit of input going into it.
So are they giving you the source for this or just the utilities?
What's that?
Are they giving you the source for the website or just the utilities?
Yeah, it's a source. It's a software as a service, so it's all on that, so we can log in from anywhere and update it. Is that what you're asking?
No. For long-term maintenance and compatibility.
Yeah, so the part of the agreement is they will do all the maintenance of the site and that sort of thing, but we.
Is their code escrow?
Yeah, that's their code. They're behind all that. That's
If they go out of business.
So if they go out of business, then we get all of that information back and we'll have to find another platform to host it on. So, yep.
Any more questions for Tyler?
I got just a little bit more, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
The question is, are you done?
Not quite yet. I got a few more things I wanna cover. So, one of the things here is we have all these different languages. You can click on this and it translates the entire website to a different language. So, yeah, and I think we have 2 or 3 languages now, and it's large amounts. In fact, I can read it. Now we also have a chat bot. So I've already used it tonight, but you can see here, it'll pop up these first few items. Again, we'll go with data. What we're seeing the most common asked questions are, and we'll try to anticipate, and they can just click on that and get information. But if they've not, they can just put in the questions. So pay me a water bill. And then this is what came up here, where I can type it in.
Is it AI based?
It's AI based, this part is, and then we have 80 predetermined questions or answers already in there, so this will try to anticipate. You can click on that and get it directly.
Learn though, with time,
Yep.
start to grow.
Yep, and then it also has a feature you can like it or dislike the answer that it gives you. If it's scrolling and it doesn't give you what you want, you dislike it. That gives us data, so we can go in there and train it and make it smarter, so next time it answers the proper way. So, and then if you can't find what you want, it can roll over to our live chat. Because one of the issues we had was people were complaining they were waiting too long on the live chat because they're also taking phone calls, so it could take a little while sometimes. So we're hoping maybe this can answer some of those questions that might be a little routine and free them up in the call center a little bit. Move on real quick here. Just a couple of other features. So I talked about the search function and chatbot. So the Access Wichita is now report an issue, or C-Click Fix is the tool behind it. So this tool here is basically everything you could do before on Access Wichita is now here. So animal control, graffiti on public artwork, forestry, public works, park and recreation, water, sewer, stormwater, and environmental health. So you can report all these issues.
Are the accounts migrating to the new site, or will they have to?
Unfortunately not, so we're gonna have to reach out to all those customers, and yeah, that's one we looked at and we tried to get, but we can't just move people's information for them. Yeah, we can't do that. So if I wanted to report an issue at a dog park, I just click on that, and I've got this map. I can just move it around here, put it there, and then, or I can type in an address, confirm the location. If I have a photo with it, I can add that. I just hit no photo, put in some details, and then I can submit the issue. So it's as easy as that to submit stuff. And then this also comes with an app. You can go to the Apple Store or Google Store and type in City Wichita. It's the City Wichita app that gives us some flexibility rather than calling it report an issue. You can't really do anything else with it. So if it's City Wichita, we can add more features down the road.
So we need to update our current app.
Yeah, and that's anybody who has an email now, we're gonna send out a notification saying, hey, we're switching over. So.
Sure. Is there a request for broken websites? Web links on there?
we're gonna have at the bottom, email the webmaster, so that's gonna come to me, so.
1-800, who cares?
So you'll now be able to create profiles as well on the website, so it'll help. You can remember, you want here, create an account, as you're filling out forms and that sort of stuff, you can remember some of those things, you don't like typing in stuff, you can have your name just autofill on certain things. But also another, one of the cool features with that is you can get notifications or sign up for notifications. So I showed you the calendar module, you can come in here, and so you want to know everything about the District 6 Advisory Board meetings, you can sign up for emails or text messages about those. We can go in and every time, let's say 3 days before the meeting, we wanted to send an alert to everybody. So you can sign up for as many and little of these as you want. Same, I don't think we're doing bids on here yet. The news flash items, news releases, newsletters, you can sign up for alerts on those as well.
Can I also delete that?
What's that? Yeah, you can unsubscribe as well. And that's one thing too, let's say you're subscribed for multiple things and we send out something across several things with this system, it remembers, okay, yeah, he signed up for this and this, I'm not gonna send it to him twice, I'm only gonna send it to him once. So I talked about kind of the improved user navigation. One of the things we're really looking for is ADA compliant. This Audio Eye is a tool we have added. Now we can't use it on the site until we're actually live, but Emporia uses it. And one thing while I'm waiting on it to load here is that it will scan our site for us and look for ADA issues. So if there's something there, it'll fix it if it can. If not, it reports it to us and then we can go in and fix it. But this tool is pretty cool. Turn off some of the features here. You can change different things on it. So if you have different vision issues, whatever, you can change the image on the screen. You can make the text size bigger if needed. The font, you can change to different fonts, whatever might be easier for it to read. One thing I thought was pretty cool is this dyslexic font is, I guess, when it's weighted at the bottom like that, it's easier for people who are dyslexic to be able to read it. So that's
Access.
Yeah.
Nice.
You have a guide here, so as if you're reading down lots of information, you have a guide, you can also add the window to it as well. One thing is once you exit out of these screens, I hadn't exited out, but if you're on a public computer and you're using these tools, you don't want the person coming behind you to know. Once you exit out of this window, it will come back up for the next person. It's easy for staff to update. Like I said, IT used to have to do pretty much everything for everybody. Now it's just easy as click and drag and upload documents and move stuff around. So we can hopefully keep information more up to date, more fresh, and better access. So forms, not really new, but it does come with this. We can do all sorts of different forms with it, calendar function, facilities we talked about. And then just something kind of fun here. We can do opinion polls on it. I like dad jokes, so I put those on there. But we realize that opinion polls on something like this are not going to be scientifically valid, but it might be a fun way to kind of engage people. So that's the down and dirty over 2 years worth of work in 15 minutes. So
That was great.
I probably missed it. What's the implementation date?
December 7th is what we're aiming for.
Okay, kind of like the bridge, if there's rain going down while they're putting on the striping, they may have to go a day or two later.
If you would have asked me last week, it was a lot more up in the air, but Friday we got good news, so.
Any more feedback? I personally really like the city council recap. Most people are not gonna sit and watch our meetings for hours and hours and hours. So if there's something that grabs your attention from the recap, and then you can go find it in the meetings. I think these
We
are great.
also, in that, we link out to the YouTube videos.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
People really like transparency, and that just really escalates transparency to another level.
I'm assuming as part of the beta test, this thing was load tested.
Yeah, they've been doing lots of testing. We're still between now and December 7th, we're gonna do a lot of user testing. And tell people, don't even use the search function. We wanna see how well you can use navigation. And then test out the search. Is that working? Test out chatbots. We got a lot of testing to do. That's anyway. But the nice thing about this site is I can blow this up and move this over here, move this over here with a few clicks. So. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Anybody have any updates?